Hi,
Hello!
welcome back to Tea and a Chat
With Harry and Pat,
with Harry and Pat.
aka Zara. Woohoo! So, Harry, let's jump into it today. What drink do you have?
I have a peppermint tea, which I feel like is actually becoming my tea of choice for this pod.
It's because Harry has like a tea schedule and what time of the day he drinks different
Very
teas.
routine based.
And this time of the day it's a peppermint tea, so... And what mug do you have?
I've got my Fox mug, which has featured before. The little fox. It's a green mug, and it's got a fox on it with a little moustache, glasses, and a... What are those hats called?
Fedoras.
It's got one of them.
Look at me go.
What about you?
I have again, it's all I ever drink, but an English breakfast tea.
You had a chai the other week.
That's true. I will have a chai after this. But it's got two little cute bears on and it says, "Today I need a hug."
That mug's featured before as well in this pod.
Yeah, probably. I love this mug. Your sister got me it.
Yeah, it's definitely featured before. Yeah. Maybe we need some more. No, I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah, we do.
No, I'm not even going to say
it. We do. We have a cupboard full of them, but it's still not enough. But soon...
No, not only do we have a mug full of cupboards, I was going to say.
We've got a mug full of cupboards.
I'm the mug. Not only do we have a cupboard full of mugs, we have a mug tree as well on top of that.
Yeah, sorry for yawning.
Gosh, off to a good start today.
No, I didn't mean it. I'm so tired today, don't know why.
I feel like that was on last podcast as well. You would.
Okay, well, I'm tired every day then. That's good.
No, it's all good. We just pick the tired day. We pick eventful days to do podcasts, don't we?
Yeah.
It's like outside is the windiest day.
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to hear it, or if you can't hear the wind, you'll hear like the blooming bins battering off each other's doors and stuff.
It's the letterbox at the front of our house.
Oh, yeah.
Likes to... Oh, there you go.
Oh my god, thank you.
Perfect. It likes to be blown up by the wind and like... Da-da-da-da. So if you hear the occasional bit of tapping or windy stuff, whatever's going on, there is no stomp rehearsals going on nearby.
I wish.
Just windy. I don't know. Do you really think?
I love stomp.
I love stomp, but if they were rehearsing all day next door to you, I feel like...
It'd be so cool, Harry.
Yeah, I probably would enjoy it. Fair enough.
It's like that living with you. You're always tapping on something or doing something.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it then. Oh, well. What?
Well.
Today's podcast is about the importance... I need to get this right because I keep saying this wrong.
Yeah.
The importance of person-first training.
Yeah, when Harry wrote this in the book, he wrote importance of first-person training. I was like, what? That just completely changes the meaning of the podcast completely.
I had a moment, okay? I'm human. It is correct. So, anyway.
Person-first training.
Person-first training. So, I mean, let's start off by saying that this is something that I think we really, really believe in, and we often reference in other podcast episodes.
Everyday life. Excuse me, door, you're not welcome.
Everyday life, yeah. Yeah. Why is it like,
Sorry.
yeah? Everyday life, yeah. No, but it's, I think, in all different walks of life, we can very much get caught up in what is going on externally rather than reviewing what is going on internally and going off what we feel. Which is kind of the premise of this in a more specified way. But I mean, person-first training is kind of one of the foundations of Quartz Academy, which is, if you don't know, is the performing arts school that we run.
If you don't know, get to know.
If you want to come along, let us know. info@quartzacademy.co.uk. Send us an email.
No, it is one of the reasons we started at Quartz, because I think
absolutely
the industry has such a outwardly led focus of what jobs you're going to get, like who's doing, like what are your friends doing, what is deemed successful, doing quotation marks, in the industry. Like, it's all very much about how you look on the outside and like to the outside world, and it is really, I think, a lot of time people forget to look inward and think, well, what do I actually want to do, and who am I at the root of it all?
To an extent of that as well, it's the reputation of the performing arts college that you're coming out of,
or definitely.
Whatever establishment you might be coming out of, it's a reflection on them, so they'll want, to an extent, they're going to want you to. They want you to be successful, but they want a part of that to be reflected as because you went there or wherever you went.
Yeah.
It makes me think about that thing I was chatting to you about the other day, that Phoebe. Phoebe Waller-Bridge thing. That video I saw, which I feel is appropriate for this actually, because it was a video I saw on some social site, and she was doing an interview and talking about how, as an actress, she really enjoyed the sort of the freedom and like the exploration of the characters that she could create through text or whatever. I'm heavily paraphrasing this. Long and the short of it is that when she went to drama school, she came out and sort of felt like she had to stand and completely bolt upright. I was by your side, very, very sort of linear, I guess, and that's how she's going to get a job. And for me as an actor, I sort of somewhat understand that. You sort of, in my experience, I definitely felt a little bit like you kind of have to, stop doing stuff with your hands, or, why are you doing this? Why? It was always why, which I understand the premise of that is that don't do things for the sake of it, make a choice that the character would make, but sometimes that can impact your own creative stimulus towards a character. But she just was basically saying that she came up for like that, and then over time rediscovered the quirks and the joy of what she could bring as herself, and she ended up getting loads of work. I mean, yeah, that's kind of, which is kind of, that's a person first approach.
It is, yeah.
A journey on which she got there, but it's important to recognise that. And I think you are not the same as anybody else. Even if you're an identical twin, you're not the same.
Yeah.
You are your own individual, and your own joys and desires and things you like are going to be selective to you, and follow those. Zara, what do we mean by first person training? Because I've just rambled a bit for a bit.
Well, I kind of answered that bit before. I've already told them. Or do you know? Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's just about there's so much that goes into it, but it is just about looking inwardly and deciding who you are, knowing who you are at the core of everything, and what you want to do, and what you want to do because you want to do it and it's something that excites you, and not things that you want to do because you think it's going to make you look good, or you think it's going to make you successful, or you think it's going to give you some sort of outwards gratification. Your focus should always be on the things that are actually exciting to you, and fill you with joy. You think you're going to get something positive out of it for you, no matter what anyone else thinks or what anyone else is doing. So yeah, just not follow the crowd. And
I think people as well can do some of their best things when they're doing something they enjoy.
Yeah, if you think about it, like just now, if I think about 95% of the people who are working in the industry, in like I don't know, whatever they're doing, but like they're quote unquote successful, like they've whatever's happened, right? There are people that have gone in and they're for sure talented and they have all the skills, but then they have the confidence in themselves to back that up and say, yeah, this is what I want to do, and this is, I'm on the right path, and that whenever you go into an audition or whatever you're doing, that's good to a panel, like that looks good, that like we've said with other people. I don't know. Is Catherine's episode come out by this point?
No.
Not yet. Well,
That's, I think, next week.
Well, next week we've got a lovely podcast with a lady called Catherine, and she talks a lot about the other side of the additional panel and how, like, you're working together. They want you to be just as good as, like, I think as performers we have a tendency to go into those auditions thinking, we need the job. The panel are somewhat above me because they can give me the job, and it's like, you know, you're automatically putting yourself down in that sense. Whereas I think a lot of people that are quote unquote successful are the people that have been like, no, I want this and I can get this and I know myself enough to know I can go in and do this. And that's, they're not thinking about what, you know, Betty's doing and what Betty's going to be thinking about what she's doing. They're just focused on themselves and trying to put their best foot forward in that room.
It's self-belief, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a part of it.
Yeah. Going back a little bit, you know, talking about courts as well, I think one of the things that we've done is that we had more specifically you had a class, didn't you, that started out as one thing, has now changed to another based on what the students wanted. It started off as a contemporary lyrical class, didn't it? Which was well received, but then you were like, do you guys fancy doing something else? And I think that's I know I'm not involved in it, but I think that's so cool, like to be able to have some training and be like, actually, can we do this? It's a really cool thing. And I don't know, but I don't know if there's many places where students can go in and be like, well, can we try this? And then
it's credit to the students really saying, like, we want to try something else. It's not. Absolutely,
because, you know, if you have the facilities and the facilitators to provide something, try it. And our students are really cool like that.
We love them.
So I guess a part of first person training is kind of looking inwardly a lot, would you say?
That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
First training though, darling.
Oh, did I say it again? This is the issue. But so it's understanding yourself and what you want to follow and giving yourself that time. I think especially as you're younger, there's so much going on. You know, 1 minute you're doing whatever exams, and you're doing another lot of exams, and then there's a lot going on when you're young, or sort of, you know, especially if you come into your teenage years and then out into your 20s and out into the wider world, generally speaking, if you're following that sort of pathway. So you don't always get a lot of time to look inwardly and think, what am I enjoying? What do I like?
Well, it's not that you don't have time. I just don't think you're encouraged to do it. I don't think there's enough emphasis on that. I think you're pushed into these boxes and like funneled through these like sort of pathways, and you sort of start to take on other people's beliefs and thoughts and feelings that aren't yours. And you start to believe them as if you're yours, because at no point have you stopped to think, wait, do I actually want to do this? Like, you know?
Yeah. Which I think is important. I think no matter how old you are, you've still got a voice and an opinion, and which is valid.
Always, yeah. You know that's always there, and you never lose it.
But yeah, we've kind of said that point too. Actually, I'm looking at these notes.
Well, it's more just about, so like what we've got written down here is it's about finding your why. Why do you want to do things? Why do you want to? So let's say, for example, I'm going to use me as an example. I graduated from full-time dance training and moved into London, which my why for was very much me like person first focused. I wanted to do that to keep training and learning, and I felt like I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, and the most options were down there for me to try everything out. So that was the right decision for me to go do that. That is definitely what I wanted to do in my core. On the other hand, the other side of that is I went to all these cruise ships auditions, and I put so much weight on these cruise ship auditions, and I felt really down whenever I didn't get them or got cut for them or whatever. Now knowing myself now and looking back on that, I'm like, I did not want to.
I'm struggling.
Harry's tea stuck to his coaster. That's so funny.
Sorry, carry on. I've rescued it.
Ah.
I just could picture that, me picking up my drink and the coaster falling onto the table, and I've interrupted anyway now. So watch. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's alright.
Going to all these auditions.
Yeah, going to all these cruise ship auditions, and like thinking about now, that I don't want to go away on a cruise ship for 9 months. I never have. That does not sound good to me. I get seasick, like, just, jumping up and down in our classes. Never mind being on.
You actually?
Yeah, I'm not.
Hell. So, yeah, I don't think a ship's the place for you.
No, I get such bad motion sickness. No, that's not the point. The point is, like, I think even like before graduating, I think while I loved my training and I learnt so much, and there's nowhere I'd be where I was if I hadn't trained there, I think really at the bottom of it all, I would have probably gone into more what I wanted to do performing wise had I trained somewhere else, or had I, because where I trained they were very much focused on things like cruise ships and blah blah blah, and it wasn't that the other things weren't an option, but it was like that was what everyone seemed to be doing, and I sort of fell into this box of, well, all these people are graduating and everyone's thinking they're really successful because they've gone off and gone on this ship and we're working with this company and doing this thing and blah blah blah, and I was a bit like, well, I should do that to be successful like them and blah blah blah, but I was not thinking what's successful to me, like what.
That's the outward validation.
Exactly,
isn't it?
It 100% was, and I think now.
Sorry, just let this plane land and then we'll carry on.
Is that a plane?
I believe so. I mean,
oh my goodness, that's so loud.
It's one of these. Sometimes do you ever feel? Oh, you don't listen to these podcasts back,
No.
do you? Sometimes I feel, because I like to listen to these podcasts back, I quite enjoy it, that some of the noises that we respond to don't always get picked up, and we respond to something, and it's like, no, can't hear it.
Oh, that's
as
funny.
a listener. So
it's because
anyway,
we've got headphones on, and I can hear it in the
that's
headphones,
true.
so I think they can hear it, but
I guess we'll see.
that's not important. Sorry, everyone. As I was saying,
Yeah.
that it is. So back to, let's round off the point. It's about your why. So if I had stopped for a minute to ask myself, why am I going to all these cruise ships editions? I would have said, so that people can think I'm successful. Who? XYZ. Not one of those people would have been me. I would have just gone along with the flow. I probably would have gone on a ship, and I don't know this for sure because I never did it, but I could have gone on a ship and hated it. That is how I imagine it would have happened. And then I would have been on that ship for 9 months. Like,
Yeah, it's not like you can get off, is it?
yeah, exactly. And I think, I don't know, I think if I had just given myself that chance to stop and go, no, why am I doing this? And maybe even more to the point, why am I not doing what I actually wanted to be doing? What am I scared of? What have I been told before to make me go in this path that's stopping me from going down the other one, and I think that's...
On this though, going back a little bit, like I think this is what I mean when I said earlier that we don't always give ourselves the time or feel like we have the time to stop and ask that question of why, and like look inwardly, because I feel like we get so caught up and wrapped up in what's happening in that moment and what those around us are doing that it doesn't even perhaps cross our minds.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it doesn't mean we don't have time. We absolutely
no,
do. Like,
yeah, my point is, we get wrapped up in it, and I think actually when I think about it, correct me if you feel like this is wrong what I'm about to say, but when we first met, I feel like one of the main connections we had was we actually gave each other the space to think why within, do you know what I mean?
it's interesting, yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Because I think we'd known each other before for a bit anyway, but we were kind of both in places that I don't think we were. Maybe we were aware we weren't in the best places that we could be mentally. However, we weren't necessarily giving ourselves the whatever. I'm not wording it very well.
No, I do know what you mean. because sometimes I do think you need, if you're really really stuck in this place and like you're on that hamster wheel of whatever, and you're just going and you don't stop to even give yourself a chance, like you're saying, to think about what you're doing. Sometimes it takes someone else, aka this podcast, or someone like you and I, to be like, just take a minute, think about what you're doing, think about why you're doing it, like. And that, like I say, that can be you listening to this podcast, you can have this epiphany, but that can also be you chatting to a friend or someone saying to you, oh, you don't seem yourself, or like, it could be anything, but it's like, yeah, I agree with what you said.
Because what we really want to encourage from this is that the practice of that, because it's not, I don't think it is particularly, I'm not speaking generally for every instance, excuse our door, but I don't think it is encouraged to ask, why am I doing this? What do I enjoy what's happening? Am I just doing this for the sake of doing it? Like we've already mentioned, I don't think it is practiced to do that. So to find somebody else where you can have that conversation, or have it with yourself, whatever that may be, like you say, that is important. Because I mean, what if you turned around and ended up being like, I've just finished a 3-year performing arts course, degree, whatever, but actually I really, really, really want to be a doctor. Unless you have that kind of epiphany, conversation, whatever, you might end up spending a good chunk of your life doing something that actually you don't really want to do, but you don't really know that you don't want to necessarily do it.
Do you know what's interesting as well that just came to my mind when you were saying that, is I think actually a lot of us in these moments do have an idea, like, so like deep down I knew I didn't really want to go on ships, and I knew that I liked ballet and contemporary and I liked that side of things.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like shutting it off, because I was like, well, I've trained in this now for 3 years, and this is
that's the other side, another section of that though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's about like the person first side of the industry, but then also being brave enough to be like, well, yeah, I know who I am and this is what I want, and okay, now I have to change the path that I'm on slightly or majorly, whatever it is, but then I'm going to do that. Like I've got the guts in myself to do that and say, yeah, this is going to make me the happiest in the long run, or not even that, maybe this is what excites me right now and I'm going to follow that instinct.
I think it's so important in a way to stand strong within that as well, because I think sometimes you may come up against different opinions or people who don't think that actually, no, I don't think you should do that, which is equally, that's fine, you know, everyone's got their opinion and they're always entitled to it, but to stand strong within you will make you feel more secure in that actually, no, this is for me.
Exactly.
Whatever it may be. I'm being very vague with that, but
yeah, I think as well the thing that can help you with this and accepting that sort of side of things is that I feel like, especially when you're young and you're graduating and whatever, or even before that, like say you're leaving high school and you've got to decide if you're going to university or what job you want to do, like blah blah, whatever it is, it's like it seems like you've got to pick something and then that's it, you've got to work at that forever and that's going to be your life, and you sort of close yourself off to any other opportunities that are coming in, because you're like, this is me and I have to do this in this specific way, and there's so much to life and it's
almost a bit traditional way of thinking.
Yeah, but I think, like, hopefully, touch wood, we're all alive for a very long time. Like, there's so much time to do everything. There's so much, like, we know ourselves from this past year how much of our life has changed in this past year.
Oh, a load of it,
and
not all of it.
Exactly, and even the year before that and the year before that, like, there's so much that happens, and I think,
I mean, a few years ago it was COVID, wasn't it? So like,
yeah. It's crazy. A couple of years ago we were all sat at home in lockdown thinking, when are things going to happen? And then a couple of years later we've moved to a new city, we've started our own business. Like, things are just constantly evolving and changing, and that goes for you as well. So if you start training to be a scientist and you decide, actually, do you know what, I want to be a singer, you're not wrong for thinking that. You're just changing, you're evolving, you're growing, and I think you need to be kind to yourself in that process to help you get to where you want to be.
Well, we're kind of, in a way, lucky that we live in a time where you can literally change what you want to do overnight.
Yeah.
That is it's a feasible thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it may require work and effort and all the rest of it. There'd be other factors, but you can do that. You
Definitely.
could wake up tomorrow and be, I want to be a vet, and it'd be like, cool, okay.
Okay, so what do I have to do to be there? Yeah, exactly.
Start that process.
So to sum up that point, as we were kind of going on, it's ask yourself why. Do you want to do it because it makes you happy, excited, feel some sort of inward emotion, or do you want to do it for outside validation or gratification? Because if it is the latter, then you need to stop doing it.
It's funny actually, because that last little bit you said about, if you want to be a vet, okay, let's try it. I feel like that follows on to the next point quite nicely, which the point here, our following point, is to try new things and follow your impulses, which is so important for self-discovery, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, makes me think about being a kid, and you depending on how you are as a kid, you're always trying different things, whether that's you're really bold and confident as a kid or you're a bit more reserved. I think you're still trying these things in your own way, and you're experimenting, and your imagination's running wild, and all these different things, and you follow those impulses. And I think as we grow up, we kind of pull back on that a bit because we're following a pathway to an extent, if that makes sense.
We say that all the time in our classes, don't we? Because we teach a lot of young kids, like primary school age kids, and they're so much fun, they're so funny, they're literally just great little humans, they are, and we love teaching those classes.
It's inspiring.
We always say we don't want you to lose that, like, just always be as free as you are right now.
Because you do, I think actually, we posted about it today being the day we're recording this podcast, but I think within it was a quote post, and within the description underneath, we talk about, as we grow up, we become more sensible, and we've got more of an understanding of the way things work,
Which, of course, there's an element that needs to be in there. Like,
yeah, of course.
You have different responsibilities when you're an adult than when you're a kid. So
yeah,
that makes
I'm
sense.
not saying, if you jump off a cliff, you're going to hurt yourself. I'm not saying go do that and power off as, being impulsive and whatever.
Yeah.
That is very impulsive, but in the wrong way. I guess we're more talking about in a creative sense, more specifically. Definitely. As well. Just to be playful and, use your imagination and let your creative world in your mind and perhaps externally in classroom scenarios run free. Because as creatives, like that is what we do. That's how we tell our stories and show our experiences and what we can bring as individuals. Again, it comes back to that you are a unique individual, and what you, Zara, would bring with your creative mind and imagination would be different to what I would bring.
Yeah.
And together they could form something incredible. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the possibilities are endless, and that is why it's so much fun to work with kids as well. Because I mean, you can ask a question and you can get the most wonderful answers. The thing that's coming into my head is we were playing a game we call the typewriter game.
Yeah, this is so good.
And in this game, one person goes...
Sorry, your door's just...
In this game, one person goes out the room, and they're the person who's going to be late for work. All the other kids in the room have to decide why that person is late for work. Now, when that person comes back in, they've obviously got no idea why they're late for work. So if I was the boss, I'd then ask the kid who was late for work, why are you late for work? And all the kids stood behind me who've decided for them have to then act it out without saying a word.
Yeah.
And obviously, one of the kids we had, what was the reason? I think it was a house was on fire or something.
Yeah.
And the kids were acting this out behind me whilst I was asking, so why are you late? And the kid in front of me said, from watching the kids behind me, she said, my house fell down because I didn't put sun cream on it or something.
Oh no, my house was burning, and you were like, yeah, it is burning, but like, why is it burning? And then the kids were trying to work out the fire. She's like, I forgot to put sun cream on it.
But it's just like, obviously, I mean, that is so much fun, and it's so, like, why not? Why not? That could be a thing. You could see that in a cartoon somewhere, that someone's not sun creamed their house and it's fallen down because it's or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not
They're so
beyond
creative
like the
and-
imagination and the freedom. It's like, yeah, that it's hilarious, but it could work.
Yeah.
Why not? So I've sort of gone off on a bit of a tangent, as I always do, but the point is, follow your impulses and the whatever just happens. I think one of the main things I particularly like to cracky knuckles over there. One of the things I particularly like to do is encourage that there is no right or wrong in the spaces we have as courts, and because like that's how you learn. That's how you become confident in your experimental creativity, which then allows you to follow those impulses and trust them. And within those, you may work out the ones that work better than others in certain scenarios. But again, I don't think that's a limiting thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I get a bit excited.
No, it's a good thing. Sorry, everyone.
The next, well, following on a little bit from that is we also, within being open to your new things, trying new things and open to your impulses, we've got here, be open to opportunities you haven't considered before. This is something we discussed earlier, and we slightly differed on the angle of it. Because I would say, don't always shut down something you're kind of like, oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Give it a go to see.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Now, I know as an individual for myself, I would find that very difficult and probably wouldn't end up doing it. So I think that's why I have that perspective, is because I feel like sometimes if you don't try it, you could really enjoy that thing. You might not, but if you don't try it, you're never going to know. It's never going to be an option.
But again, it goes back into the why. So
yes.
if you're offered an opportunity and you're not sure about it, you don't know. If you ask yourself why you don't want to do it, is it just because you're anxious? Is it because you're anxious of the unknown and whatever? Then don't, like, that's not a reason to not do it. But if your why for not knowing if you want to go is because you're like, well, do you know what, at the end of it, it could get me here and I really don't want to do that. Or, do you know what, that's why it's so important to sort of know where you stand as a person first, you know, and then working out your why, and that will decide what opportunities. So yeah, like there'll be an opportunity that can arise that you had no idea was going to come, and you have to make a decision for yourself, like, oh, I've not thought about that before, and because I've not thought about that before, I don't really know if that's something I want to do or not. So it's my reason for wanting to try it or not wanting to try it because I feel anxious, blah blah blah, like worrying again externally about what might happen? Or is it you don't want to do it because you're like, actually no, that doesn't excite me at all. There's not a tiny bit of me that wants to go to that, even though it might be a great opportunity. Like, I know myself, I wouldn't like it. You have to work that out in yourself.
But I guess that's the premise again of person first. Said it right that time. Training, because
Proud of you.
Thank you. See, I'm progressing towards the end of this pod. But that is the point, isn't it? I guess the more you understand and know what you want and desire as an individual, the quicker and more informed, based on how you feel, you can make those decisions.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a good reflection for me with my example of, like, I obviously didn't have the security of how I was feeling enough to be, I should try it, whatever it may, do you know what I mean? Go back to my example.
Yeah. I will say, right, if you are feeling a bit like, I don't know, and you can't work out your why, try it, because it might help you work out your why.
Oh, it definitely will.
Yeah.
You'll know very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly whether this is the right thing or the wrong thing, or maybe you need to give it a little bit more time to find out. You'll know. And
something I still very much feel strongly about is you're never stuck in anything. However, you might feel like if you were to, we'll use you as an example, right?
Yeah.
Harry started another job, like, last week, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, last week. That's right.
And
yeah, a couple of weeks
we were like,
ago,
this is going to be a really good fit. Like, this is going to work around everything we're doing with courts, and it's going to be great. And like, on paper, it was a great opportunity, and it's like, why wouldn't you take it? And you did it, and then it's like, actually, this doesn't work. It doesn't. And
No, it didn't.
While to the outside world, people might be like, well, but why not? Like, that it seemed to work to me. It didn't. Like, it did not feel right to you. It did not
Well, no,
work.
it affected the way I was able to conduct myself in classes for quartz, which for me is the primary thing that I want to be on my A game every time. I know I'm a human being and I might not be on my A game every time, but I want to be as close to that as possible.
Yeah.
And like you say, on paper it it fitted perfectly, but the reality of it is that it actually didn't. It really, I was just knackered, quite frankly.
But that's exactly why it's important to try things, like you were saying. If you think it might, like, if you're not sure, try it and see, because it became very clear to you very quickly that actually this isn't serving me how I thought it would, and this isn't what I want to be doing, and it's not bringing me any joy or any happiness or aiding my life in any way. It's actually taken away from it.
It's a hindrance. I think on that as well, a part of that person first intuition and responsibility is the word that comes to my mind most strongly in this instance, is if you do start something, whatever that may be, and it's not right for you, like, the caring part, the responsible part, I think needs to be like, yeah, I need to stop this, and that's okay. Because that in itself can be a hard thing, to turn around and be like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore, or this isn't good for me, this isn't right for me. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't suffer for the sake of conveniencing other people or whatever,
exactly.
outward projection you might be thinking.
I think it can be good sometimes to think, and we do this a lot with each other, in the sense of, like, if you're feeling a certain way, you have these feelings about a situation, you're thinking how you're thinking, right? If you take yourself out of that and think, if my best friend was thinking like that, what advice would I give them? Because it takes you out of the anxious feeling or the worrying feeling or the I should be doing this
example.
feeling, and you would be honest with them and tell them what you, from a outsider's perspective, what you think. And I think that opinion is actually the true you deep down. It's just, oh my goodness, I swear we're not being attacked, it's just the wind.
Just the wind. It's funny you should say that example. Makes me think it's one of those classic things, isn't it? And I think a lot of people have experienced where we're very good at giving advice to other people, and then sometimes it comes to a point in your life where you might actually, that advice you may have given somewhere down the line is exactly the advice that you need to yourself, and you even can sometimes know that, but implementing
you can't hear it from yourself. It's like,
implementing is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
It's
hard. We get it.
Even like now, it's like to an extent, these podcasts are kind of similar. It's all very well us sitting here talking about these things, and you could do this, you could do that, whatever. It takes a bit of something sometimes to be able to actually implement it.
We're all human. It's hard.
Absolutely. We love our security and our safety and what's familiar. But to grow and progress, sometimes you have to push those boundaries a little bit. Not always.
Yeah.
But you are capable and you can do so. And sometimes that is a part of your person first experience.
Exactly.
Which I think is actually a nice place to kind of move into rounding us off. We've kind of said this a lot throughout this podcast, but our last kind of point is talking about constantly checking in with yourself. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Which we've echoed throughout the whole of this podcast, really.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the main premise of that person first training experience, or just experience, whatever it may be.
Yeah, we keep referring it back to if you're in like college or something.
But that's how usually are.
Yeah, it's at any point, whether you're graduated, whether you're on a job,
Yeah.
If you're a single mum raising babies, like whatever it is, that is relevant to everything.
Absolutely is. It's kind of like we say on all these podcasts as well. If you hear something on this episode or any of the other episodes that you think is right for you, take it, run with it, go with it. If you don't agree with it or you don't feel like that's right, then you don't need to do it. It might be something you might come back to and think, oh, actually, that works for me now. In this point in my life, it didn't back then. Or it's up to you. It's your choice at the end of the day. So to constantly have those check-ins is
Important.
It's important. It's significant.
Yes.
I quite like this pod.
We always like our pods.
We do.
We're getting very excited for Christmas, everyone.
We are. We're going to be recording a Christmas special episode soon, aren't we?
Very soon, yeah. And our Christmas tree's going up tomorrow.
It is.
I won't tell you what the date is because some of you might.
It's not December when we record this, just FYI.
Close enough. It's close enough.
Although it will be December. I think it's December 1st that this podcast is coming out.
Oh
so.
My goodness. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, no, Happy December, Merry December. I hope you all have an advent calendar. I don't care how old you are, they're not just for kids.
I'm not being funny, advent calendars are for everyone.
Yeah, I want to have an advent calendar for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know why.
Last year Zoe had an alcoholic advent calendar and she's still feeling the effects.
I definitely didn't, my goodness, sorry everyone. No. The point is, I hope you have an advent calendar. Maybe next year, I'm not committing to this, but maybe next year we can do a like every day of December podcast. It can be their very
every day of December.
It can be their own. 24 up till Christmas Day. It can be their advent calendar, like an adult advent calendar. They can listen to us. No, Harry's
like an
not
adult advent calendar.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So every day, instead of opening an advent calendar, they would come on to Spotify or wherever and listen to us because we would have posted a new.
Instead of having a chocolate.
Yeah.
You see, I took that in a very different way because you said like adult advent calendar. That makes me think like, is this an 18? All of a sudden, this is an 18+ podcast with very adult content that you're putting out there. I'm like, no. That's very tea in a chat. We might have to just start a new one if that's what you want to do.
No, Harry.
Sorry, that's just what it sounded like. I just want to, advocate that if you have an advent calendar, I don't care how old you are, you're doing it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Come listen to the podcast episodes anyway.
Yeah, have your chocolate have a podcast episode, even better.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was going to say one more thing. It wouldn't have happened last week because we recorded. So last week we had Hannah on.
Yeah, great episode.
Thank you so much for coming on.
If you've not listened, go and listen to it because that's a great one.
But that podcast was recorded quite a while ago. And the two podcasts that were released before that, you talked about telling everyone emojis to comment.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to do that again?
Oh, okay.
You see, because you don't listen to these podcasts, you don't even know what I'm talking about.
No, I do know what I'm talking about, but I'm confused why you mentioned Hannah's one last week.
Well, because you wouldn't have mentioned it in Hannah's one, but the podcast that came out before Hannah's one, you said, I'm going to do this every week. Okay,
so we're back with the emojis, everyone. I want you to comment. Is there a cow emoji?
Maybe. I don't use emojis very often, I'll be honest.
Comment your favourite animal emoji.
We did have duck, the last emoji comment was a duck one.
Nice. Well, if your duck's your favourite animal, comment a duck, but any other of your favourite animals, like pigs, monkeys, giraffes, elephants, whatever. Comment your favourite emoji. And everyone else will be looking at it like, oh my god, what is that? That's so weird, but we will know. It's our secret code. Fist pump.
Please don't do that to the microphone again. This is just an audio.
They all fist pumped their phones right then.
No.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
I bet you are all so excited for the Christmas
episode.
episode.
Everyone who's been listening with headphones is like, wow, I am deaf.
Sorry. Next episode we'll do an ASMR one. I don't know.
Right, we're going to end this podcast because normally it's me who goes off on one, which I did a bit today, but you've taken it to a new level.
Okay, goodbye then.
Okay, let's not shout at them. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, even the end part.
They've all turned off by now because I'm annoying.
We hope you've had a lovely, lovely Friday. If you're listening on Friday, have a great weekend. If you're also listening on Friday, come check us out at Gort's Academy. We're in South Shields. We do classes at the Customs House. If you want to get in touch, send us an email, info@courtsacademy.co.uk. Because person first training is very important to us.
Woo! See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Tina Chat with Courts Academy.
If you have any questions or things you want to know, visit our website at www.courtsacademy.co.uk or email us info@courtsacademy.co.uk.
You can also find us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.
We're so happy you're here. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.